And nobody was cops, nothing. We didn't, I mean, we were
Just
like.
so you guys know, Duke is
I saw the
going to
pictures.
executive, his annual budget.
I mean, this is just.
During the directors.
Are we live now?
You may want to,
Dude, are we live?
tune into that. If not, I understand you guys have to go.
Okay, we're live, everyone.
All right, we're live.
You can call the meeting to order.
All right, so let's call this meeting to order. Salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yes, please.
Okay. Roll call, Mr. Mancini.
Here.
Mr. Bea.
Here.
Mr. Rossi.
Here.
Mr. Manuel.
Here,
Mr. Gallup, Mr. Rossi, and Mr. McCabe are via phone, live via phone.
yes, they are here. Wait, Duke is calling Jerry, so he'll have him,
Hi, this is Jerry.
Jerry, this is Duke, and
Hey, Duke, how you doing?
very well. We have you on speaker for our meeting.
Oh, good, okay, I'm gonna just, go to a little bit of a quieter area. Bear with me 1 second.
All right.
Okay, I'm good.
okay, hi
Thank you.
Jerry. All right,
Hey,
here's,
Joe.
good. Here's what I would like to propose, a change in the agenda, so I'm gonna need a vote on the change. I'd like to change the agenda because of the three people who want to vote on the two resolutions that we're dealing with tonight. And they are in different parts of the area, they're not here today. So what they want to do is if they have other business to attend to, they can cut out after the vote on the two resolutions. And then the four of us can conduct the rest of the business, having a quorum. So do I have a motion to allow that to happen?
I'll sponsor.
Pat Bea, second. Sheena, thank you. Thank you, Jerry. Okay, I'm just gonna say all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Okay, so we're gonna change the agenda and we're gonna have, Director Duchesse's gonna read the first resolution.
The first resolution number 2020, number 12, is a resolution to hire CT Mill Associates as engineers to perform a Phase 1 ESA for the Chalmers site. That's a Phase 1 environmental assessment. The purpose of that is that the agency do its due diligence and consideration of purchasing the property. And the resolved portion reads, Ada agrees to hire CT Mill Associates to conduct a Phase 1 environmental site assessment, ESA, for the purchase of the Chalmers site at a cost not to exceed $2,200.
Okay, is there any, I will sponsor that, resolution. Is there a second?
Also.
Okay, thank you, Pat. Second by Pat Bea. Is there any discussion?
I'm good.
Okay. Mike and Mike, okay?
I'm good, yep. I'm good.
Is there a time frame when they're gonna do that?
According to, they're gonna do it immediately as soon as they do contacts them about our resolution results here. So we're gonna ask Sandy to call the roll. Not Sandy, I'm sorry, Donna.
Mr. Mancini.
Yes.
Mr. Bea.
Yes.
Mr. Rossi.
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Rossi.
Yes.
Mr.
Yep,
Gallup.
yes.
Mr. McCabe. Did you-
Mr. McCabe
Yeah.
and Mr. Gallup,
Yes.
Mr. Emmanuel.
and yes. Okay, so that was full board support, thank you. And now the next resolution.
Resolution 2020-13, authorizing the purchase of the Chalmers property from Chalmers No Lots LP. There are a number of whereas clauses. Just entitling the agency to make such a purchase. And noting that we have a written offer to purchase the property for a sum of $300,000. There are two resolved clauses. The first being that Ada will purchase the property for the sum of $300,000, but conditioned upon certain conditions to be set forth in our counteroffer, namely upon a successful Phase 1 ESA, that's the resolution that we just passed, and its ability to use the property in a manner acceptable for Ada. The second resolve, the executive director is authorized to execute any documents necessary to complete the transaction and to tender a drawdown payment in the amount not to exceed $1,000 only if counteroffer is accepted.
Okay. Any discussion? Yes, Pat?
Well, can you explain the counter offer? What are you talking about?
They gave us a contract, a real estate contract, that just pretty much set out the term, the cost. So we're not gonna accept it that way because we wanna add in the contingency to do the environmental. So I'm gonna send them an attorney approval letter, saying we approve the contract conditioned upon you allowing us to do the Phase 1 and all those other things. So that, we call that a counter offer. They accept it as a contract.
I understand. Thank you.
Sure. That's a good question.
I'm curious too, but I think I'll figure it out.
Okay, all right, so I'm gonna ask Donna to call the roll.
All right, we need a,
Is there a sponsor?
I will sponsor that resolution. I'll need a second. Chris Mancini will second the resolution.
Good discussion.
Any discussion now? Any further discussion?
I'd just like to make a point, that you guys reviewed, you've seen the appraisal on that property beforehand, and you're also aware of, what the seller paid for it. So that's how we came to the agreement of $300,000.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, Donna?
Mr. Mancini,
Yes.
Mr. Bea,
Yes.
Mr. Rossi. Yeah. Mr. Emmanuel,
Yes.
Mr. Rossi,
Yes.
Mr. Gallup,
Yes.
Mr. McCabe.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So that resolution passes. We have one more resolution, and we might as well entertain it, which is our monthly resolution to accept the month of September's bills and invoices. So, Mr. Rossi, would you care to sponsor that resolution?
I haven't seen them yet, so I can't.
Okay, all right.
If you say they're okay as normal, I will second it, but.
Okay, well, I'm gonna ask Director Duchessis to explain that. The purchases, have they been reviewed? Because you have not
Yes.
reviewed them? Yeah.
And they're all routine in nature.
All right, somebody needs to make a motion. They are routine, Mike, they, from the AGT pilots,
Yeah, as long as we're not paying anything that we don't normally pay, I will sponsor that.
all right, I'll just run through them quick. We have the pilots for the county, the city, and the school of Attorney Swartz, National Grid, County Waste, Director Duchessis, Ms. Phelps, Key Bank, Hummel's office for clerical supplies. We have the Amsterdam Granite, which is that's a $24.44. What is that?
The pilot.
That's for the pilot. The Montgomery County Treasurer, the Amsterdam School District, and the City of Amsterdam, and the U.S. Postmaster for stamps. So it's pretty much our routine bills and invoices.
I'll sponsor that resolution to pass that.
Okay, thank you. So Treasurer of the agency, Rossi, and a second from Gina DeRossi. Any discussion?
Hey, Mr. Chairman, if I might, just in a tangential matter, we met with Michael Rossi regarding the agency's budget. And one of the things that we talked about was pilot payments are really not revenues or expenses for the agency. So they're going to be deleted from the upcoming budget proposal. And of course, the majority of the expenses are shown here are relative to pilots, which again are not revenues or expenses of the agency.
Okay.
Well, can I add something, Joe?
Yes, you may.
I said this before in the past, some IDOs do call for them on behalf of the municipalities, but others do not. If the city was willing to take that over, it would be much easier on our agency if we didn't have to produce invoices, track them down, send them out, collect the money, then write a second check, bill it to the three municipalities. So if we could get the city to take that over, that would make me really happy.
Okay, that will be something I think Director Duchessi can work with our controller and Mr. Russo, our liaison, who is also here, by the way.
Yes, typically the pilot agreements, and I haven't reviewed every single contract, but does say that the payments are remitted to the respective governments. That would be the school district, the county, and of course the city. We do have one contract that we have to pay a little closer attention to because it's a property that the pilot is based on a property that is owned by the agency. So if we did change the mechanism, perhaps that one would stay the same. But all of these things warrant further discussion, and we'll prep a little something for the next meeting.
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right, thank you. All right, Donna, call the roll.
Mr. Mancini,
Oh, yes.
Mr. Bea,
Yes.
Mr. Rossi,
Yes.
Mr. Emanuel,
Yes.
Mr. Rossi,
Yes.
Mr. Gallup,
Yes.
Mr. McCabe.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Pass. Do we have any other resolutions that we need to
Well,
address?
I was going to request a resolution to accept the budget for the agency. I just have to find that memo.
Do we have to do one for the minutes too? Do we have to do one for the meeting minutes? Or am I done?
Thank you.
Okay.
So this was only sent to the members this afternoon after this resolution. And just a little bit of background, okay? Given the existing circumstances with COVID-19 and the governor's executive order number 202-11, the authority's budget office is really not keeping a tight rein on reporting deadlines, and they're authorized to disregard a strict adherence to those deadlines. You know that we didn't meet for a couple of months. Those are times we've gone over the budget. So in the preceding month, Sandy and I did meet with Michael Rossi to review some of these budget items. And what we've done is we've really cleaned up all of the line items. There are a couple of facets here. One is the city's bookkeeper uses certain account codes. Many of them were kept alive and vacant for a long time. So going by Mr. Rossi's recommendation, those have all been eliminated. Also consistent with his recommendation, we have taken off of our budget private payments received by us and then paid to the respective entities. As I stated earlier, they're neither revenues nor expenses to the agency. So those line items have been cleaned up. I would certainly understand if the members of the board would like to take another month to review the budget as we go forth. But it's pretty tight and cleaned up and really based on historical figures. There's nothing out of the ordinary there except one thing, and that is we did list under 6641 of expenses Consulting, and that was originally for the Chalmers project development.
What are you looking at? Is there something?
The memo,
I don't see what you're looking at.
the September 17 memo, right
It's in
here,
your packet. I think it's after
from the,
the sheet you have, keep going, in the file.
Sure.
One more over, in the middle,
Okay.
take that one. That, there you go.
Okay.
so that is page 2. And at that time, we thought that the amount for consulting services would be around $20,000. So that's the only other, that's really the main item of note. All the other things were housekeeping items. So it's up to the board. If this is too soon to review these items, then we can pass the budget next meeting. That'll be fine.
What is the $20,000 consultant for Chalmers?
Well, if you look at the other memo from me, the one that's relative to the CT meal proposal, pre-development and feasibility study, the agency certainly did not want to go forward in spending $300,000 for a parcel without the ability to properly develop a project. The property has a very long history. One project did not go through when the existing Chalmers building was in place, and the second one didn't go through just recently. And we're all aware of that. So we following a Zoom meeting with CT Mail and the director and Amanda Verify, I requested from CT Mail a proposal that would include site assessment and review of existing environmental documents. We know that the project has an environmental easement on it and there are restrictions, but it can be used for commercial or industrial development. So, but nevertheless, we already voted on the phase 1 of that proposal, that environmental site assessment. We want to put together a project that is in alignment with existing planning goals and programs. This goes all the way back to the city's comprehensive plan in 2003. There's a brownfield opportunity area along the waterfront where the site is included. And also, in 2018, the city was awarded a downtown revitalization initiative. So the project that we would seek to develop would have some consistency with those goals. I've already mentioned the historic context of unsuccessful development. We also talked about the use of various existing market analysis. The company that we would be purchasing the property from was kind enough to share certain documents that address the market analysis for certain types of use. This next item is, I think, most important, is that we want to establish a new master plan for the site. So we want to have something already in mind when we approach developers to redevelop the site. And to that end, the very last thing on the list is not, excuse me, second to the last, is that we want to develop materials that are appropriate for use in marketing the site. So sometimes they call it a cut sheet, something that developers could look at and say, yeah, we want to take a swipe at this. So, and then the thing that I left out was any associated project-specific funding opportunities. I would be doing that research in addition to our request. So essentially, we've outlined the elements of a project proposal that are really specific to this site. It's not just a blank canvas. As I mentioned, there's a history, and there are certain programs in place that we want to align with. And so that's what we are seeking from the developer.
$2 million bridge. So you're talking about a lot more.
That's part of the that's correct. There's money in the
money in the DRI.
in the DRI.
But I think Mr. Baya is asking, is this $20,000 Like, what's it gonna be spent on?
Well, my question is, you were listing what's involved in this CT mail summary of proposed fees. The amount you totaled here is 26.5,
Yes,
and you're gonna budget 20.
well, that's why I called your attention to it, because we made this budget prior to my receipt of the total cost.
I mean, you listed a lot of things.
Right.
Of what you're gonna be doing, but there's been involvement from other agencies. And there's cities doing marketing studies and master plans. And then I have a question about, are we gonna use a commercial realtor at any point? Are there any things that overlap of things that we've already done? So
I'm
my
sure there's a real-
question is, are we committing to this before we know what's been done with other master plans, a Bridge Street master plan, other environmental studies, any things that the county has done? Is there a master plan the city has done? Is there a Bridge Street master plan? And that was just my question, as maybe some areas are gonna be redundant.
I think, yes, but I think the distinguishing factor here is that we would be developing a plan that is site-specific for the two parcels that we are entertaining.
Joe, do
See,
you want
this is, I just wanted to also help you out, Pat, and because I've been like kind of involved with all this $20,000 is negotiable. And we could, like those, I think there's 5 bullets that they are charging us in that. We just chose one. The other 3 or 4 are all negotiable, and we may not need the services. So this 20 is sort of just security money in case we do need to spend it. I'm not saying that I want to spend all that 20, and we may need to, but there's a good chance that we can negotiate it down and say, well, we may have a developer come to us without any of this, but I think the CT mail aspect or input, they're working to protect our agency from, the environmental issues that are going to have to be done on a yearly basis, because we own this property now. So there's some responsibilities as owners that our agency just don't have the expertise to do.
One other thing is one of the subheadings here, it gave CT Mail the ability to go out and subcontract with other entities. And there was no cost involved there, so I just want to be sure we're not duplicating or we're not committing to things that might be costs that aren't obvious for this $20,000 budget amount.
I agree with you. Yeah, I agree. And just to throw this in, we're going to plan on meeting next week, Duke, myself, and Amanda, and look at, once this resolution, and I'm very happy that this resolution, we all decided that we want to take on this site. And it's a challenge. It's going to be a lot of work and a challenge, but we're also going to talk about now, what do we really need next, and what don't we really think we need next? So, and then bring it to the committee. The Building and Grounds Committee can discuss it, and then we can also discuss it with other committees before we decide to just say we're going to hire this firm. And the reason why I think this firm is going to be best for our needs is they've been on that site since its brownfields or genesis, like back in 2002 or 2 or 3. So they have a lot of expertise and knowledge on that site. And now they would help protect us going forward. And we can pick and choose what we want them to do, if I'm saying that correctly.
Yeah,
Question, so to your point there, are we then going to keep that as 20,000 in the proposed budget, not raise it to the proposal, for your bullet? Or are you looking to change that to what they're proposing?
well, I think we could leave it for now and then amend the budget if we need.
I mean, at one point they say CT Mail will subcontract specialist designing services. So you're getting into a whole different layer of cost.
Well,
So we're kind of, I mean, we're. it's
Only if
preliminary.
we want them to do that, Pat, and
Well, I don't know.
yeah, I don't know, yeah, that's why we're gonna, but, you know, I'm not sure if we want someone to do that for us as well, like, you know, maybe a developer will come or a contractor will come and say, I'm gonna do it all myself, or, you know, we may not need this whole package that CT Mail is offering, is that correct? I mean, I think.
The way Chairman explained it to me was that whole list of different bullet points is like a menu to choose from. The only thing that you have chosen and authorized off that menu, so to speak, is the number one, which is the phase one environmental for $2,200.
So we already used 2,200 of the 20.
So you haven't authorized any of that other stuff to go on yet. You put away some money for it, just in case you do authorize it, but none of that other stuff is authorized by you guys yet. You guys will authorize that.
And you'll authorize.
Do you want a different number? Is that a sufficient number? I mean,
I'm okay with it now. I mean, if we want to, like Duke said, we can amend it later, or we can end up having a windfall at the end of our year, budget. You never know.
That would be my recommendation, that we go ahead and put in the 26.5. I mean, and then I would say that we try to negotiate the cost, because this isn't saying we're gonna pay this, and it doesn't even say we're gonna pay it to CT Mail, it's just saying consulting. So, you know, we have a little bit of leeway, if we decide to go for someone else for something. And at least it's already budgeted, and if we don't use it all, that's great at the end of the year, but at least we had it in our budget. That's my view on it anyway. And like I said, it's not saying we're definitely doing all of this with CT Mail, it doesn't say CT Mail specifically. And I would say if we do pick what we do with CT Mail, we could try to even negotiate that. So that'd be my recommendation, if the board agrees.
so,
I mean, we can hold off and, you know, take your recommendations and comments for the next board meeting, call a finance committee meeting if you need to, or do you want to just go ahead and amend it right
it
now?
depends on if the board is willing to act on the budget as it stands and make an amendment, or if you want to vote on it at the next meeting.
I'd rather vote on it when we have the entire board here, and we can get input from the other board members, especially the finance.
Let's take it to committee one more time. Let's take it to committee and have the committee make the recommendation to the board.
Okay.
All right, good idea. All right.
That is not problematic. That's a good way to approach it. But I think the salient point is that we really need to engage professional services for project development here, especially given the property's history.
So there's probably no way of using, I don't know if you were trying to even go over this, with the whole, like, anything that's been done before on this project. Are we able to utilize any past, research or development or anything?
Past work.
With that, or?
Yeah, that
ship kind of sailed because.
I actually included an analysis of that in our request to CT Mail. And just by way of example, okay,
I mean, as a basis.
I know, right. I know that the site has been remediated, and that there is an environmental easement that goes with the property in perpetuity. So that environmental easement was granted to the city of Amsterdam, and then when the city sold the property, the easement went to the people that bought it. And now if we were to buy it, that would transfer to us. The easement really requires a site management plan, and that's a periodic investigation of the site. The most recent one, for instance, I have in my possession, the most recent one that was done, but and there are a number of documents that have been shared with us already.
Oh.
Well, we wanted to use that as part of the analysis that was performed by CT Mail. At least that was my intent. So I can tell you right now what the environmental limitations are. I know what it is. Nevertheless, as due diligence, and if we're going to act in the most professional manner before purchasing this land, we need to have that phase one environmental assessment done for us.
Well, so at the end of the meeting, when we have committee reports, I'll just recommend, like, for example, economic development may want to meet and talk about it. And that's, and land and buildings committee might want to meet and talk about another phase, and then we can put all of our committee notes together, because we can't have more than three, for the quorum, at a committee meeting at a time, so. I'm gonna meet with Duke and Amanda on, probably next week, probably Monday or Tuesday, and then I'll send out a notice that I know you're on the economic development, so we're gonna, and planning, so we're gonna need to kind of come together and brainstorm. Chris, you're with, I think, building and grounds, so we're gonna need your input, and then we can come back. That'll give us enough time to come back in October with it, and we, the other thing is, we may not have to address this until after the actual closing. And the closing takes, if they accept our offer,
You have to wait for the environmental.
wait for the environmental, so this may not all come to fruition until, maybe even the first of the year. It may take months before the closing of the property, so we have that. So we have some time to think about, this $20,000 figure and.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of going where Chris was going. There's a lot of work that was done by Amanda Bearcroft, and I was just wanting to see how that fit together with this. So
Yeah,
that it could
and
complement it, or if there was any areas of duplication, or.
Right. She's been very helpful in this whole process. I mean, she's.
One thing to keep in mind here, and again, everything that I've proposed is directed at trying to get a successful project. The most recent project with regard to housing, one of the reasons why that did not work, okay, is because there was community opposition to it. And frankly, the RFP that had been issued for the sale of the property to the developers was not consistent with some of those other plans. And so there's room for that kind of tension and discord. What we want to do is develop a project that's acceptable right from the beginning, so that when we get a developer, the developer is developing the property in accordance with what we want. And that's where that gap is the last time, as I see it. And I can tell you frankly that I've seen in other communities where they're not issued RFPs that were detailed enough to get precisely what they wanted. This is going to be a difficult project going forward. We're going to have a $300,000 investment. So some of these other elements that we're talking about in project development become extremely important.
I think in the committee level, it'll be useful to go over in detail some of the things.
Yeah, I have quite a number of things already, and I'll have them available at the meeting.
Just a quick question, if I may. This is Jerry. Relative to the different tasks, is there any chance of any of that being put in through state or federal grant money for those different tasks, or no?
Well, one of the problems was just recently, only about 10 days ago, the state announced that it was not doing its consolidated funding application. So some of those planning grants and things are not available to us.
I see.
All right, and
But nevertheless, I'll look.
Also, Jerry, and the board, Amanda has reached out to National Grid, who also gives out grants. And part of her seeking some money is, part of the grant seek is to offset some of these costs, especially the cost to do the phase one. So she's looking at that. So we could hear some good news from Amanda, and this doesn't really, have to cost the agency what we decided to legislate. So, so yeah, we've been, trying to keep ahead of this, because this is a big venture, and, we're, We're gonna take it and make sure that the board is completely satisfied that everything is going forward in the right manner, and I know Duke's doing a great job about that, communicating with everyone at this point. All right, so for the people that are on, speakerphone, we have the approval of the minutes resolution, from our August 20th meeting, so we're going to need a motion for that.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Jerry. Need a second? Chris, thank you. So we have, any discussion on the resolution minutes? Okay, call the roll.
Mr. Mancini,
Yes.
Mr. Bea,
Yes.
Mr. Rossi,
Yes.
Mr. Emmanuel,
Yes.
Mr. Rossi,
Yes.
Mr. Gallup,
Yes.
Mr. McCabe.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And now the bills and invoices resolution, we already passed that, I believe. So now, gentlemen on the phone, it's up to you. You can stay on and I will keep you on. And if not, we have, the treasurer's report. Michael, do you have a treasurer's report?
I just know that the cash is 916,000 and the total of billed cash 869,000.
Okay.
And that's all I know, and I gotta go because I've got a meeting at 7.
All right, thank you. Thank you for assisting us here and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Joe.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Mike McCabe, are you gonna stay on?
I'm on.
Okay. Jerry, how about you?
Joe, I'm gonna sign off here.
Okay, all right. Well, thanks for your
Thank you.
attention and we'll talk soon.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, as far as my chairman's report, it's gonna probably weave into the director's report. I kind of asked Duke to check into a couple things regarding the industrial park design, but I did get a call today from Mike Clark, the city engineer, and I wanted an update on the road paving. And the condition of that D'Andriano Drive is not really in the best condition to just put a coat over it. So it's similar to maybe a driveway, it's made for light traffic and not heavy traffic. So Mike suggested, and I wanted to share this with you, he suggested that we don't do the entire area that he was proposing. He was gonna do the worst section, which is near the AGT building, who has complained about the road condition. He's gonna have that, put a binder down first and then an overlay on top and fix that. And then we also discussed moving forward in the city's road program, since these roads are city roads, he's gonna propose to the common council that they include in a 4-year plan sections of that roadway in the industrial park as part of the CHIPS road, annual road program. And once we have so in 4 years, the whole industrial park should be repaved in some manner. So I agreed with that. So that's the latest on
Okay,
the
how are
road
you?
program.
We're still on the meeting.
What else can I report on?
Oh,
AGT,
the second time.
the city.
I'm gonna call you right after.
Yeah, the AGT, we did, Sandy, we called AGT, or the city DPW, they patched some of the holes, the potholes in the area, because they were pretty bad. I went down there and took.
You're gonna get a good 4 inches of coating done.
Yeah, so
What they're gonna put the 3.5, or,
so it's gonna be,
they'll 3 inches of binder and 1.5 inches top.
so it won't
So it'll
get
be
ripped
solid.
up by the plows, and it won't be in the same condition city, next year. If I have anything else that comes to my mind, I will do it at the end of the meeting, but I'm gonna turn it over to the attorney's report.
Just busy, nothing in particular, just working together with these guys and what they're doing.
Okay, great. How about the director's report?
Well, I pretty much covered everything that I've been up to during tonight's proceedings. The only thing I did not report on and left it, I did leave it out, we referenced the signs in the industrial park. We have, 3 responses and requests for logos, trying to establish a nice sign for the park entrance. We got, 3, and actually 4 letters back because of the addresses were incorrect. Some of these companies are housed one place but list their address as another. So I'm gonna, I'll probably spend a little time just up there myself, knocking on a couple doors and try to get a response where there was none. But, in the event that we're not successful in the next couple of weeks in getting logos, then we can just recommend, addresses for the new signs.
Addresses or even, put the name. Or even go on the internet and use the name and logo that they may have on the internet.
Yep.
That associates their business.
How many companies are in there?
I think I have a dozen that, so that I'm working on.
Yeah. Okay. We got
I know.
4 back, so that's not a good track record. Plus we already have the sign in progress. We paid for half the sign. I'd like to get that buttoned up and put that behind us before too long. Anything else, Duke? Okay. Amanda is absent today. Committee reports, are there any committee reports? Mike McCabe or Chris? I know, Chris, you had a little bit of interaction with downtown.
Oh, yeah, there was some flooring issues and a railing.
Okay.
I took some pictures and sent it to Mike, but it was just, it's like the Armstrong commercial tiles seem to be like just kind of cracking and coming
Yeah,
out.
I saw the pictures.
I didn't get into the cookie place, but I'm guessing that's the same thing, that's what it cracks to this, it wasn't like a monster.
All right.
But the railing just needs to be
So,
put on.
is there any recommendation, and would you suggest we send someone down there, a contractor?
I didn't like look into the floor on his side, there were probably in that picture, I said probably 6 or 8 tiles, so I don't know how much
All right.
more is gonna make, come up, because it was still underneath it, I don't know what's,
Can you do
I don't know what the subfloor is, and then, what I mean.
Can you check on a follow-up with them?
Yeah.
All right. Do a follow-up and then get back to Duke or Sandy, and we'll see what we want to do next.
I think Mike said, is that where Joe Laffey would step in, or how do you guys?
Well, it depends if he does flooring, and if he can, the business would have to,
Yeah.
business would have to make it close or he'd have to do it at night or something.
It's in the way back from this area.
We want to
I
address.
just don't know how bad it's gonna get, or if you pull up one tile and there's more tile.
Yeah, we don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
So we may have to do the whole floor.
Yeah, well, I spoke to Regina today, so she said, she knew when you do go back down there, she'll be open.
Oh.
And she can bring you back to that area.
Okay.
All right, great, thank you.
I think we're, okay.
Yeah, we are. Any unfinished business with the board?
I have one anecdote for the board, because it's interesting. And I was looking online for a little bit of research about the Chalmers site, and relative to maybe anything that happened when I was in office. I found testimony given in July of 1958 by my uncle Bill Duchessis, who was a textile workers labor leader at the national level. He testified in front of Senator Pastore about the deleterious effects of imports on the textile industry, and mentioned how handkerchiefs were being produced offshore and undercutting the price of those being manufactured in the Chalmers site. So that I think was a harbinger of things to come. The industrial phase for that site is over, and we're going forward.
Good. All right. Anything else from the board? Alderman? When's the road program actually started?
I had a meeting today, so it should be getting,
Okay.
I had a meeting yesterday.
Yeah, okay. Very good. All right, looking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that.
And I'll second the motion. Call the roll, Sandy, please. Sandy. Donna?
That's all right.
Mr. Mancini,
Yes.
Mr. Baya,
Yes.
Mr. Rossi,
Yes.
Mr. Emmanuel,
Yes.
and that Mr. McCabe is the only one
Yes,
left.
he is. Motion to adjourn, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, meeting is over. Thanks.
Okay, good work, everybody.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
All right.
I went through the scope of good.
Yes. I need that back. I
You'll never pace to react instantly anyway.
You're right, so I said, oh, good. So.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sandy. Good night, Donna.
Let me get everybody's folders.
Yes.
We have.
Someday I'm gonna find out why this is not streaming.
And we're on.
Well, a lot of it's on email.